So we have some eclipses coming up this fall, and I've been meaning to dive in a little bit with what these eclipses are all about. And so that's what I'm going to do today, talk about the upcoming eclipses as well as sort of how they fit into some bigger patterns, some bigger evolutionary cycles, and how we can understand sort of more deeply our moment in history and our own personal journey, our evolutionary journey, what it looks like, and how we can think about it from a really empowering place. I'm Marina Orms here with your Astro Vibe and Astro Perspective for August 25th, Sunday. And so we are just as of today, as of for looking at today's astrology, we have a third quarter moon happening early Monday morning. And so we are 3/4 of the way through the moon cycle that began with the Leo new moon. We are in a moon cycle that is focused on the theme of self-expression and creativity. I love working with moon cycles because they give us this really, really tangible, day-to-day, approachable way of thinking about our bigger process. And if we think about change and what we want to create and how we want to step into our full potential and make the most of the energies that are available, because what else are you here to do, right? In this life, we are here to discover who we are and what we're capable of. And that's going to be a little bit different for each of us in terms of what feels most important. But the purpose of making the most of the time that we have in this life is really universally human. And so we take what comes our way and we figure out how to be our best selves to meet whatever those challenges are and step into the learning and growth that are available to us. And so we can think about the moment in history that we're in right now that way, from especially these bigger picture astrological cycles, some just really fascinating things unfolding in the bigger picture. So not just for today, but really for this many year period. Even looking back to the 1960s, we had a Pluto-Uranus conjunction that we are now at the trine of. So sort of the equivalent for Pluto and Uranus of the conjunction was like the new moon. So for those two planets, which move, they have a much longer, bigger cycle for for their unfolding than the moon cycle, which happens every month. So if we think of the Pluto and Uranus cycle as at their new moon phase in the 1960s, it actually lasted several years. And this was the planting of the seed of the bigger cycle of those two planets. And so where we are now is at the trine, which is 1/3 of the way through that cycle. So I don't know, what are we at, 50, 60 years now? To for getting 1/3 of the way, or if we were thinking about the moon cycle, right, we would be just still not even at the full moon yet. So with these two planets, we're talking about a bigger picture cycle of change, deeper process of how we discover who we are through the unfolding of authenticity, and how our authenticity speaks to what we want to create, how we need to transform. And by transform, I mean there are things that we need to leave behind from the past and things we need to be prepared to step into that have to do with new possibilities for the future. So the Pluto-Uranus cycle is a cycle of change. It is a cycle of self-discovery. And it began with all the things that happened during the 1960s, the protests against the war, the civil rights movement, the thinking in terms of equal rights and freedoms for human beings, and in our country for what it means to be an American. So really the planting of these seeds of justice and equality that began in the 1960s had their square. So that is the equivalent of the first quarter moon. So the square happened in the 2011 to 2017 time frame. And so that was the pressure boiling to a head to say, okay, you planted the seed of change, of discovery, of thinking about equal rights and freedom and justice, and what does that look like, and how do you do that, and how are the revolutionary ideas going to be implemented into reality and practice. And so pressure during the middle of that decade, the 2010s, to connect with, okay, here are the ideals. How do we make them happen? What does that look like? How do we need to change and roll up our sleeves and get to work and start really living up to those ideals in terms of our behaviors, our actions, our values here on the ground. So we had that square, and now we're at the point where the planet Uranus is forming a trine with Pluto. We're just entering into that trine, and the trine is kind of having a feeling of wind in your sails. It is supportive. So the hard work that happens during the square gets some resources, gets some momentum, gets some energy, moving it in the direction of what you have chosen. So you can see in these cycles why it is so very important that we do the hard work of making decisions, changing where we need to change, stepping into new consciousness and new possibilities. Because then when the wind comes up to blow us where we need to go, we want to be pointed in the right direction. So if we instead during the square say, oh, no, I don't want to do that work. That sounds too hard. I'm going to stay comfortable. Thank you very much. Then when the trine comes along, it says, okay, here are the fruits you get from that decision. And so we need to make those hard choices to step into the highest possibilities for what we can become. And that will be on an individual level for each one of us personally, stepping into our own highest potential. And it will also be in the collective, as we collectively together in society decide who we're going to be and how we're going to govern ourselves and organize ourselves and take care of one another and engage in being productive together. And what does that mean for our society and our culture and who we are and how we view ourselves? And so that's just one of the cycles we are following here. So what happens as that Uranus trine forms to Pluto, we also have a sextile between Pluto and Neptune. Now, the sextile between Pluto and Neptune is not new because Pluto and Neptune are they are not that different in their orbits. So in fact, there is a part of Pluto's orbit that is actually inside the range of Neptune's orbit. So Neptune is not always further out from the sun than Neptune, but usually it is. So Pluto has a longer cycle. So when Neptune and Pluto formed a sextile in the early 1900s, we actually have had that sextile in place, slight variations as both planets move in their orbit, but they've been more or less locked in that sextile for 100+ years. So Neptune and Pluto kind of moving along together in a sextile 60 degrees apart from each other. But what's significant is that now, as Uranus moves into the sextile with, so they have sextile. Yeah, Uranus is forming a sextile with Neptune and a trine with Pluto. So a trine is 120 degrees, a sextile is 60 degrees. So what we have is a sextile from Pluto to Neptune, a sextile from Neptune to Uranus, and a trine from Pluto to Uranus. Now, this is significant in terms of all three planets. These are the furthest outermost planets in our solar system. And when they move apart from each other, that is called waxing, just like when the moon moves apart from the sun in the moon cycle. And that waxing part of the cycle is visionary. So we are building, we are growing, we are moving toward something, we are future oriented. And this sextile, which forms a trine between Pluto and Uranus, gives us this very visionary quality from these outer planets. So these are our deepest places of truth, of power, of spiritual knowing and guidance and wisdom from a bigger picture. And so in this bigger picture, we are at this very visionary alignment between these three slow-moving outer planets. Not just two planets, but all three. And so during the summer of 2024, and then again in 2025 for about 6 months, all three planets in that same alignment. And so what's happening is, and all three planets are at the end of their signs. So Pluto at the end of Capricorn, it's in Aquarius right now, but just stay with me for a moment. So Pluto at the end of Capricorn, Neptune at the end of Pisces, and Uranus at the end of Taurus. Pluto has been in Aquarius, is currently in Aquarius retrograde, heading back to Capricorn on September 1st. So depending on when you're watching this video, it'll be back in Capricorn on September 1st. So next year, all three planets will be making in fact, Pluto will enter Aquarius again in November of 2024. But in 2025, we've got Neptune shifting from Pisces to Aries. We've got Uranus shifting from Taurus to Gemini. And again, all three locked in to this sextile trine pattern, waxing sextiles, very visionary, very focused on the future, moving forward. Okay, so now we can think about this sextile as double sextile, triple planet sextile trine alignment. It has this visionary quality, this wind in the sails quality, this ability to see possibility, to focus on the future and what could be. And we see that emerging in the collective. We are coming out of this Pluto and Aquarius, decade and a half plus of Pluto in Capricorn, and moving out of that time period of hard work, effort, responsibility, conservative values, hearkening to the past, having to make decisions about who we are, where we stand, feeling this kind of weight of responsibility that I've talked about in some of my past videos about Pluto going into Aquarius and Pluto's time in Capricorn, 2008 through 2023, 24. So with this shift into more visionary Aquarius for Pluto, into action-oriented Aries next year for Neptune, and into idea-focused Gemini for Uranus. So really heading into some significant changes in the energy in 2025, as we kind of are at a very exciting period of opening to this vision of possibility for the future, as Neptune goes from late Pisces into early Aries. We have the shift from the sign of transcendence, of dissolving boundaries, of the experience of losing a connection to who we have been, but also letting go to attachments, letting go of old ways of being, thinking. Pisces is a spiritual sign where we transcend the ego. And that can mean also losing the things that the ego gave us. And so we are having to let go of the identities and ways of being and ways of thinking of the past. And as Neptune goes into Aries next year, we are stepping into new beginnings, new ways forward. We become babies. We are action oriented, life force energy driven to create. And that drive that comes through Aries is like the drive of a seed to emerge from the ground. It is pure life force energy. It says, I am here and you cannot destroy me or, or I don't care if you try, right? So that drive to move forward has to come from the process we've been moving through in terms of a deeper understanding of who we are, connecting with that bigger picture in Pisces, transcending the limitations of the past, and having this opportunity to step into new ways of being. So that is the context. And then we have our first eclipse of this eclipse season, which eclipses happen a couple times a year, and usually we have 2 or 3 at a time. So the first eclipse for this fall is on September 17th with full moon in Pisces next to that planet Neptune, late Pisces, this visionary, transcendent connection to a bigger picture. So 2 things happen with this late Neptune energy, with this full moon eclipse, lunar eclipse on September 17th. One is that we lose our old signposts, our old guardrails, our old principles. They become lost in the fog, and we might feel a little rudderless, a little directionless. We are susceptible to shiny objects and manipulation and whatever, appealing theme we are being fed, whatever lie, manipulation, conspiracy theory, whatever version of that could be heightened. And so we could see this invitation to, a temptation, shall we say, a temptation to take the easy path or listen to someone that sounds good, but we've lost our guideposts, our guardrails. We have lost touch with maybe some of our moral principles and values. And so that is part two, which is the other part of this full moon and eclipse, is that we have an opportunity to not take take the bait in terms of this temptation we might be offered for the easy path, the feel good thing, and instead to connect with a bigger picture of truth, a bigger picture of our hearts, and what provides this guiding light in our life, in our experience, to connect with a bigger spiritual picture, reconnect with true morality, true sense of value, what's important, what gives meaning to our lives. And so you can see how important it is to discern, and the Virgo new moon that starts the next moon cycle will remind us to be discerning, to be, careful about what we listen to and what we take in, and as the discernment gives us this opportunity to open to, what does really matter, what does really give significance and importance and meaning to life, what do we care about and why. And so we can see some of these themes emerging in the collective, in the narrative of sort of a remembering of what we value, what our morals, our principles, and talking about the United States, some of our founding principles and ideals that, you hear these things about how, well, we're not living up to them, but it is a work in progress, and we need to stay faithful to those ideals, because that is what will lead us into the healing and growth that is possible for our future. And the future is creative, it's innovative, it opens us to the ability to bring in the new. And so the more we can align with new ways forward and not get sucked into the bait of the temptations to take the easy path, right? But to listen to our hearts, to connect with what gives meaning to our lives, and to be willing to live from that higher place, that higher spiritual place that that is more fulfilling ultimately, and healing for us personally and in the collective. So this first eclipse in Pisces, lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 17th, aligns with Neptune and is really pulling us to make this decision. Who are we? What's important to us? What matters? What do we care about? What are we going to do about it? How are we going to live our lives in accordance with something that really brings meaning into our lives? And then, so that highlights also this sextile trine, the three planets, visionary outer planet alignment is highlighted by this eclipse. And it says, who are we? What choices are we making to find that guiding light and follow that guiding light and not be distracted by the imitation, the false, tempting, easy solution, but to really connect with that bigger guiding light. And so that first eclipse on September 17th will ask us to really know who we are, remember who we are, connect with our spiritual principles, and what gives meaning to our lives and what really matters. And then the second eclipse is on October 2nd, and that eclipse is in Libra, the solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd in the sign of the peacemaker, conjunct Mercury in Libra, the sign of the peacemaker. So Mercury is communication, and it will be direct, right? Mercury is going direct on, I think it's August 29th. So in September, October, Mercury is direct. That helps communication follow through more easily, and the ability to be heard is there. The ability to find your words and make them heard is more available. So the sign of the peacemaker, Libra, means we are able to listen to each other, to build bridges, to find pathways forward that maybe aren't perfect, maybe they involve compromise, but they provide this ability to cooperate, to work together, and to find common ground. So opening to how you need to build bridges in your life, and thinking about the wider world and how bridges are being built in the wider world, and maybe even how you might participate in that, right? Even if it's the way that you talk to your neighbors or your family members, right? Finding common ground, building bridges, finding ways to work together, ways that you can let go of your attachment to being right, to make some small compromises because it's for the greater good. And I don't mean, like, Libra can there's always an upside and a downside to everything, right, in astrology. So Libra can mean being a people pleaser, being a doormat, letting someone walk all over you. So it's definitely not about that. It is about being who you are, being strong and solid in who you are, which again, you can be more clear about if you are really tuning in with the eclipse on September 17th. That Pisces Lunar Eclipse will help you get clear about who you are, what really matters, and why. And then with the following Libra Solar Eclipse on October 2nd, it will help you be able to articulate, here's what I care about and here's why. And almost certainly, most of the people in your life, even some who disagree vehemently with you, can find ways to come together to agree on some bigger principles, like caring about one another, or what is true and right in the bigger picture, what it is we want, right? We want peace, we want harmony, we want the ability to live our lives in safety. All the things that feel important to you are almost certainly important to someone else. They just might think about it differently. So the Libra solar eclipse on October 2nd will be about how we build those bridges of connection with our partners, our neighbors, our friends, our family, even people we might disagree with. We might discover where there really is common ground. And so the power of these eclipses is, again, we have to see it in the bigger context of these outer planet cycles, what's unfolding in a bigger picture. And then you have these eclipse energies that are like a portal. So eclipses are an alignment of the sun, moon, and earth, such that they are in the same plane at the same time as a new moon or full moon aligns. So a new moon happens when the moon passes between the earth and the sun. A full moon happens when the moon passes on the far side of the earth from the sun, right? So the earth is in the middle. That's a full moon. And then an eclipse happens if those either of those things happens when the sun, moon, and earth are all in the same plane. So an eclipse is an extra alignment that creates a portal. And if you think about, if you were to shine a flashlight through a keyhole on one side of a room, and on the other side of the room was another door with another keyhole, you can see how if your light is in the same plane, it will pass through both keyholes to the far side of the room. And if your flashlight is shining up or down, it's going to pass through the first keyhole, but not through the second. So that's what we have when we have an eclipse, is we have a light that passes through both keyholes. We have the opening of a gateway or a portal that allows energy to shift. And that shift brings in possibilities. It brings in change. It brings in a new perspective. It brings in something that we might be able to see differently, think about differently, or experience differently. It might make a change or help us make a change within ourselves that helps us show up differently. So the eclipse will impact each of us in our own way, but it is an energy vibration, if you will, on the earth that is impacting us in the collective. So we can think about it in terms of these bigger picture cycles, the outer planet alignments of Neptune sextile Pluto and Uranus sextile Neptune and Uranus trine Pluto, very visionary, very future focused and opening to possibilities going forward. So it's opening us to a new way of seeing how we might do things differently that might work better. Wouldn't that be great? So there are so many areas where that could show up and ways that it might show up. But thinking about how you can be an active participant in this process and how that feeds you and how that helps you feel more alive and brings your life force, your gifts to share in the world in a way that contributes to this process by being who you are here to be. So your unfolding evolutionary path is a path of discovery of who you are. And as you follow that path, you are able to be a positive, active, creative participant in the world you live in. So could be in your little, neck of the woods, impacting your family, impacting friends, community members, co-workers, people you know and work with. Or, depending on who you are and what you do, it could definitely ripple out into the wider world and have an impact on that bigger level. And almost certainly even the way you talk to your neighbor is part of a bigger, right? It's part of a bigger process of change in the collective. So we are all here for that. That is the invitation of the planets and the planetary cycles. I am an evolutionary astrologer, and so that is how I think about these cycles. And hopefully that helps you have some context and understanding for these upcoming eclipses, what they mean in the bigger picture of change. Thank you so much for being here. Let me know if you have any questions about what I've been sharing. Hit the subscribe button and check back, because I have many more videos on these topics. There's so much going on with the planets that I can't talk about all of them in any given video, but I try to touch on different topics at different points, and I think it's all connected to the bigger picture of where we are in history, how we are learning about ourselves, and kind of what we can do about it, right? Remembering that we have this power to step up and be who we are and engage in the problems we see in the world to make a difference, a positive difference. So hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and you can learn more about me at astrologyheals.com. I'm Marina Orms, and I'm here every day with astrology for unshakable self-care. So check it out and stay tuned for more. I will see you next time. Bye for now.